So hello everyone and welcome back to ICP5 coding. So in this video we're going to talk about object oriented programming. Actually I think I should have done for loops and looping all of that, but I am starting with object oriented programming because that's one of the most interesting sections and you might like it if you're able to understand it well. So we're going to start with that, but before that I want to give you the solution of the task, or I don't know what to call it, the exercise or the task which I had given you at the end of the previous video. So if you've not watched the previous video, do watch it and let's just see the solution. Okay, so there we go. This was the task I'd given you, this bouncing ball which is just bouncing off all the ends of the canvas, and the solution is this. Okay, so these are the variables. This is the function setup. You can see, okay, but yeah, this is a function setup and this is the entire function draw. So let's just explain it very quickly. So I have drawn an ellipse. I actually do not need rect mode or center. Okay, here you go. This is the ellipse. I have given the red color, as you can see by this. I have not given it any stroke. So stroke width, actually the stroke width does not make any sense. And this is the background color, which is black. These are the variables. So I've given the x position, the y, and I have made the semicolons all the time. Yeah. So I've given the x position, I have given the y position, and I have given the width and height as well. Yeah. And I have given the x direction and the y direction separately. And in the function setup, I have initialized x direction and y direction both to 1 and the width and height to 50 and 50. Now my conditions, they're the most important ones. If my y becomes greater than, this is the greater than equal to operator. I don't think I just told you about this. So this is a greater than equal to operator. So if it touches the edge minus the height divided by 2, so that means if it touches this side, that means this end corner, if it touches, so it should bounce back. So this is the I am setting the y direction to 1, and here I am changing my y by 5. I'm increasing by 5 each time in the draw function, and I am multiplying it with y direction. And similarly for all the edges, I'm just changing the y direction, I'm changing the x direction, and I'm getting this result. So you can say I've done the same with x. If it is exceeding the width, my x direction becomes negative, and if it becomes less than 0 or equal to 0, I am again changing the x direction to 1, and as a result, this direction, each time it's hitting its boundaries, it's just getting the opposite. If it is hitting the x ends, the x is getting reversed, and if it is hitting the y ends, the y direction is getting reversed. This is the complete logic behind this. So now let's just start with object oriented programming. I am just going to change this source file to sketch.js, where I'm going to do everything. And here we go, we have a blank screen and I have an empty JS folder. So before we start doing everything, so what does object oriented programming actually mean? So I will need the whiteboard or the Microsoft Word for this. So there we go, I've got my Microsoft Word, and today's topic is object oriented, the spelling is too bad, programming. Here we go. So just let's do a bit of formatting here. Okay, this is object-oriented programming. So you could find a lot of complex definitions in the internet, but I'm going to try to explain this very simply. So object-oriented programming is a style of programming. This is a basic thing. Should I actually format everything? I don't know. Okay, so let's add a bullet here. So it is a style of, and just wait. Okay. It is a style of programming. This is the first thing you need to make it clear in your brain. So it is a style of programming in which we use object-oriented programming. So we are using objects for executing all the commands and all the code that we're actually writing. So here, the output is actually totally object-oriented. And since the output is object-oriented, everything is called object-oriented programming. But what is an object? So in simple words, in a real life, in a broad sense, so object is everything around us, from a pen to a book to my glasses, to this laptop, and you and me all are objects. So objects are grouped together in this system of object oriented programming. The objects are grouped together, and these groups these groups are called classes. So in the system of object-oriented programming, we have got different types of objects, and these objects are grouped together in a unit called the classes. Now, how do we group the objects? So the objects need to have some similarities between them. So if they have similar properties, like the shape is similar or their behavior is similar, so we can group them together in a class. Let's take an example. So I have got a ball. Now that ball can be a cricket ball, it can be a football, it can be a tennis ball, it can be a basketball, or even it can be a golf ball. So now I will group together all these different types of balls in a class, and that class I will call as ball. So let's take an example. I'm just writing it. Let's take an example of a class. So this is my class. So the class is a ball. So I've got this class, and this class will contain different objects, and these objects will be maybe a cricket ball or a football or maybe other kinds of balls. So I've grouped together these balls in a class, in a complete unit, a complete group called a ball. So every object, when it is in a class, each class will have some properties. Each class will have some properties. So for a ball class, what can be the properties? It can be the radius. In our sense, it will be the diameter. In the JS, in the p5.js, it may be the diameter, but we can have the radius. Then we can have the hardness. That means how much it does it bounce, how much that is it hard. So we can have the hardness. So these can be the different properties. So we have the color. These can be the properties. And now all these objects will have their functions. So what can be the functions of a ball? So it can be used to probably bounce, to roll, just and in a programming sense, we can just say it will render. So that's the function for that. It will render. It will collide with something. These can be the different functions of the balls. Now, when we have objects in a class called ball, we have the two objects for, in this example, cricket ball and football. So the properties of the cricket ball and the football will be their radius, their hardness, and their color. So I can say that the cricket ball is comparatively smaller, so it has a smaller radii, and the color is red, and its hardness is comparatively high. But in the football, the radius is more, the color is a mixture of white and black, and the hardness is comparatively low, it is very soft. So these are the properties. But both these balls do the similar functions. Both of them bounce, both of them roll, both of them render, and both of them collide. So in object oriented, so let's summarize everything. In object oriented programming, we have got different objects which are grouped together in logical units called classes. Each class has its own properties, own functions, and the objects can have different properties based on the class properties. You cannot have a different property, like for a football, you can have checked is checked. You cannot have such kind of a different property. It should have the properties which will fulfill the class properties, but all the objects can do the function that the class does. This is a summary of everything. I mean, there could be much better explanations, but I am happy with this. And now we're going to move towards our program. There we go. So I have the sketch.js. So first of all, let's just write our function setup. The old way of programming here. Function setup. Let me just create a canvas. And I'm going to just make it this time 600 by 400. Let's say. Here we go. I will not mean the semicolon. And let's have the function draw. I can just add the background in function setup, but later we might need any kind of an animation. So I'm writing the background in the function draw. I'm making it 50 for now. So let's just execute the program, and I can see I've got this canvas. Now let's talk about the syntax for creating a class in a program. So for that, now I could just write a separate class like this, the class something. I can do it like this, and then I can just write the program here. But I'm not going to do that. We are going to create a separate file. So here, if you can see, I will click on my folder name, that is tut1, and I will click on this new file option, and then I need to give a name to my file, and let's say it will be our ball. I'm just going to use the example of the balls, the ball.js. Here we go. Okay, so now the syntax, and I'm going to probably use my comments for this. Okay, so let's have a comment. So the syntax, here we go. The syntax for creating a class is you need to write this command called class. This is the basic command, a class, then you will write class name, then you will open your curly brackets and close your curly brackets. This is the basic syntax. And then you need to write all the properties. You will write all the properties, and then you will write all the functions. So let's just create a class. I will create a class. It will be named ball. I will open my and close my curly brackets. Okay. What's the error now? Okay, there's no error actually. I think I just mixed it up with this. You should have a space. Okay, so this is the class ball is created. So now, for the properties, we have a separate area, we have a separate predefined function where we will define all our properties. And that function is called the constructor. I can already see it coming. This is the constructor. Now I will just open the parentheses, I will open the curly brackets. So this is my constructor, and in the constructor I need to write all my properties. So for this, I will not have hardness, I will not have collision, all of that complex thing. I will have for this, since this is a canvas, so I will have my x position. Okay, just wait. I will have my x position, I will have my y position, I will have my radius. These are the basic, and the color, yeah, and the color. So these are the basic properties I would have right now. So, and now for defining the properties, we need to write this. This is a keyword here. We need to write this dot x equal to x. We need to write this. Okay, and I need to initialize the x for the ball, and let's write 30. Now, again, I need to write this dot y equal to, let's say, 100. And write this dot radius. Let's set the radius to 50. And I need to write this dot color equal to, for now, let's have it as a white ball. So this. So these are all the properties I have defined. Now, the thing is, why did I use this keyword called this? Because every object can have its, as I said, so every object can have its own x, it can have its own y, it can have its own r, and it can have its own color. So this means that particular object. So this object, this is doing this. This object has this x, this object has this y, this object has this r, and so on. So this dot is referring to one object, and when I'm writing this dot x, I'm getting the x value of that object. So now we've got the properties. So this is the entire properties for now. And next, so we have got the properties. So let me just write this, the comments for understanding. So these were all my properties. After the properties, we'll come to the functions. So for now, my basic function is going to be to show the object in the screen, in the canvas. That is going to be my main objective. So let's just write. So I'm going to write a function for this. So And the syntax for the function is similar to the functions of like this function setup. Open the parentheses, open the curly brackets, and close the curly brackets. But the difference will be I will not write this keyword called function. I will directly write my function name. I will directly write my function name, and let's have it called display. So I'm going to display the object on the screen. Display, and then open the parentheses, close the parentheses, open the curly brackets, and close the curly brackets. Here we go. So this becomes our function. Now, in the function, what is going to happen? I need to define that. So I need to show my ball. So to show the ball, let's say I will have an ellipse. I will draw an ellipse to display the ball. Now, before this, I will have the fill. So I will have fill, and I will have to fill it with this dot color. So yeah, I'm accessing the particular color of my object. So I will fill it with the color that is for now 255. So it will get filled with this color, this dot color. You have to write the this dot. You will never forget this. And now I will have ellipse, and I will draw my ellipse at the position where the x is. I'm going to draw it as this dot x. I'm going to draw it as this dot y, and my radius is going, my diameter, it accesses the diameter. So I need to write 2 multiplied by this dot r, and the y, I forgot this names, and the y diameter will be this dot 2 into this dot 2 into this dot r. Yeah, here we go. So this is the simple function I've got right now, the display function, which displays this ball, the object, which is based on all of these properties. So now, first of all, I need to write, so this is the command, I need to insert this file. I've got this new file, so I've got to insert this file in the HTML file. If you don't know what HTML is, write a comment in the comment section to give a tutorial about comments about HTML, and I'm going to just talk about HTML after I finish this series. So here we go. Now, in the sketch.js, I will have a variable, let's say ball. Here we go. I will have a variable called a ball. Now, in the function setup, so this variable is just a variable now. And as I said, a variable can store any kind of value. So for now, the ball is my variable, and in the function setup, I will have this variable ball here. I am going to write, make this ball a new ball. So let's just write cricket ball for better understanding. You might get confused. So this is a cricket ball. So I am going to make this variable store an object, and that object is a new ball. So this is the syntax for creating an object. You need to write the variable, then a new, and the class name. This is the syntax. So let's write the syntax here. We've got a variable equal to new class name, and then you need to write the parentheses. So this parentheses is actually this parentheses. This parentheses is actually this. So these two, this and this are connected. So I'm going to create a new ball. I'm going to have this. So I've created an object. So now this C ball, if I just have my console here, so if I just now, where did it go? Yeah, so this is my console. So in the console, if I now write this, no, not this, if I write C ball, okay, C ball, I will get this as an object. So this ball has got its color, a radius, an x, and a y, and its prototype is an object. So this is an object. Now C ball has become my object, and then in the function draw, I will write C ball dot display. I'm going to explain. First, let's see if it gets displayed or not. So here you can see we've got this ball created purely with the help of object-oriented programming. So in the draw, I wrote C ball dot display, and I just displayed this ball here. Okay, this is done. Now next thing we need to learn is passing arguments. So now right now I just defined this dot x, this dot y, this dot r, and this dot color by my own. Now if I now say that this dot x will be a variable x, no, not this dot x. Now this one will be x. This dot y will be y. This dot r will be r, and my color will be the c. There's the c that I get from. Now in the constructor, I need to write the variables x, y, r, and c. So now as I said that this parentheses is linked to this parentheses. So now I can specify the x, y, r, and color here. So if I write at 50, 100, 50, and 255 here, so I am supposed to get the same result. So you can say that I just use these variables, I just pass the arguments to this function constructor, and then the objects x, y, r, and c are determined by these variables. So I can pass these here and I can get the result. Now, the advantage is now I can just change this and I will see the object, the ball or the object here shifted that side. I can change this and I will see the radius decreases. I can change the color, I can make it, let's say 255, and then in the brackets 255 0 0, and you will see that I've got the black color. Okay, actually just wait. For now, for this you cannot pass everything all in once. For that, for different colors you need to have a red value. You need to define this dot red, this dot green, this dot blue, like that. For now I just have a simple brightness color, so I'm going to keep it at this dot color. Here we go. Now let's create a different file and let us call it rect.js. It's a rectangle containing file. It is a rectangle containing file. Okay, just wait once. It is a rectangle containing file, and similarly, you will create a class called rectangle. So class rect, let's say rect, or let's say rectangle. Let's say the complete word. Class rectangle, and then I will define my constructor. Now this should contain x, y, wh, and r. So I'm passing the arguments. What is the r? It's c. So I'm passing the arguments here as well. I'm opening and closing the curly brackets. I'm getting my constructor. What is the error? Yeah. Signature is yeah. It's all right. I mean, okay, it's all right. Yeah, as I said, it just got removed. So now I will write this dot x again. So every object of rectangle class will have its own x, which will be represented with this dot. So this here is standing for that or this particular object. So this dot x equal to x, this dot y equal to y, this dot w equal to w, this dot h equal to h, this dot. Okay, now should we just accept the RGB? Let's do this for this RGB. Let's do this. This dot r equal to r. Okay, this is dot. This dot g equal to g. This dot b equal to b. Here we go. Okay, here we go. And now, so these are all the properties. Now I will define a function called display again for this particular class, and in the display function I will have my fill will be this dot r comma this dot g comma this dot b. This will be my RGB values for the fill, and then I will display a rect at a particular this dot x, this dot y, this dot w, and this dot wh. This again becomes our complete definition of a rectangle class. Now let's come to our sketch.js and let's make a rectangle. So for a cricket ball, let us call this rectangle a bat. It doesn't make any sense, but let's call it a bat. So the bat now for this is a bat is a new rectangle. Here we go. And now we will put all our values. So let's have the rectangle at 400. Let's do the width and height as 50 and 50. Let's have the color, the R value as this, the G value is this, and the blue value is this. Now, let us write bat dot display. Here we go. If I just run this, we'll find that okay, rectangle is not defined. Okay, here we go. We did not insert the file, the new rec.js. I did not actually bother to insert my file. That's the rec.js. And now if I run this again, I should see my okay, what happened. Okay, here we go. In the sketch.js, I've written bat.display. Why I'm not seeing it? Um, okay, let's just see. Let's just see this once. In the rectangular.js, I've written rect. I've given everything possible. I've given the fill as well. I've displayed it. So let's write it here. So bat.display. Okay, bat. This has this all everything. It's got the bh. Okay, I've got everything. Then why am I not seeing it? Okay, maybe yeah, because it is outside the screen. It's outside the screen, everybody. Yeah, now all the time my y value is 400 and I was just displaying it at y equal to 400. So it's going obviously going to be outside my screen. Okay. Let's add 200. Yeah. So we've got this wonderful little rectangle as well, and we've got this wonderful little circle as our objects. So I think this is it for this video, and in the next video we are going to just do a little with the movements. So till then, enjoy and thank you for watching.